birthdays, but they're not here, so they miss out, I guess. We're experiencing what Bo talks about, the ups and downs of attendance in church. We have some that are up at the lake and down at the beach this week in fall break. So, Paul asked me if I want the little lapel mic. I said, I think I'll just use this mic, so we're going to go with that. All right. Well, I said last week what I was going to speak about. I didn't have the sermon, but I had the title last week, and the title was A Tale of Two Sauls. So it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. What is that from? Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. Okay, classic line from the Tale of Two Cities. And this gives us a glimpse of the lives of the two subjects of our sermon this morning, the tale of two Sauls. As we look at the scriptures concerning these two men, we find that the accounts of their lives reflect this classic Dickens line. For King Saul, the best of times come at the beginning of the account of his life as he is chosen to be king, and the worst of times at the end. For Saul of Tarsus, it's flip-flopped. The best of times come at the end of his account, and the worst of times at the beginning. So the tale of two Sauls leaves us with the critically important principle, which is, and lesson in life, which is finishing well in life. We need to finish well in life. And let's begin with the story of King Saul. I'm going to try to do like Chuck and Mary now. You know, when I could read you the story, read you the scripture. I'll give you the reference. 1 Samuel 9 and 10 has this story. I'm going to do my best to do like Chuck and Mary now did and just tell the story. I think it's more compelling that way. This is the story of Saul. It happened a long time ago, and it's a true story. This young man, Saul, he was from the tribe of Benjamin, which was the smallest of all the tribes of Israel, and the least of the tribes of Israel. And he was the son of a man named Kish. He was a tall man, head and shoulders above every other person in his clan. The story begins with a search for donkeys. Some donkeys had gotten loose from his father's stable of donkeys, I guess. I guess you have a stable of donkeys, but you pick up a stable of horses, but I guess you can have a stable of donkeys too. But some donkeys got loose, and Saul was commissioned by his father to go find the donkeys. And so off he goes with a servant that goes with him, and they're not having any luck. They're not finding any donkeys, and it gets late, and they've been out a long time. And so Saul says to the servant, look, we need to head on back. We need to go on back because the donkeys are no longer an issue with my dad, I would think at this point. He's getting worried about us. So we need to head on back. And the servant says, let's keep going a little bit more. This next town here, I've heard that there is a seer that lives in this next town here. We need to go on this next town and see if we can find this seer and see what he has to say. And so they go to the town, and at the time they were going to the town, this seer, who was Samuel, had already heard from the Lord. And what he had heard, the Lord had spoken to him the previous day and said, this time tomorrow, I'm going to bring you a person, a young man from the tribe of Benjamin. And he is the one I have chosen to lead my people to be king. Because the Israelites had already called out for a king against Samuel's wishes and against really what the Lord wished as well. But the Lord sees all things, knows all things, and he knew that this was part of the plan, even though it wasn't the ideal for the Israelites to have a king, and he warned them what would happen if they had a king. They still wanted to have a king to be like all the other nations. And so the Lord spoke to Samuel and said, I'm going to bring you this young man tomorrow who will be the leader of my people. And so Saul comes up and asks, do you know where the seer's house is? And Samuel says, I'm the seer. I'm the one you're looking for. Samuel proceeds to say, don't worry about the donkeys. So he already knows about the donkeys, even though Saul hadn't said anything to him. Don't worry about the donkeys. They have been found, and you will need to go back to your home because your father is looking for you now. But before you do, you are to eat with me. Okay, you're to sit and dine with me. So he said, go up to the high place, and we will dine together. And so he did, and then Samuel said to the cook, he said, that piece of meat, he said it was a leg, maybe it was a leg of lamb, I don't know, that was always Amy's favorite dish. But leg of lamb, I don't know if it was leg of lamb or leg of goat or some sort of leg, that he said, you remember that piece of meat that I said set aside for this special occasion? This is it, okay? Give it to this young man. That's the meat that you're to give him. And so he gave him that meat, and he said, all of Israel's hopes and desires are upon you. And Saul said, who am I? What are you saying to this? I am the least of my clan, the least, our tribe, the tribe of Benjamin is the least of all the tribes of Israel, and I'm the least of the clan of that tribe. Why would you say this? And so the Lord had set Saul apart. So then he sends Saul back to his home, and he says, on the way, you're going to come across, some prophets, and they're going to be prophesying, and you'll join in with them, and the Spirit of the Lord will fall upon you, and you will prophesy with them. So he tells Saul all of this. And so just as the seer, just as Samuel said, Saul heads back home, comes across these prophets, and begins to prophesy. The Spirit of the Lord falls upon Saul in a mighty way, and he prophesies with these other prophets to the point that it became something that was said in the land, is Saul also among the prophets? He returns home, and his uncle says, where did you go? What did you do? Who did you see? And he told him about Samuel. He said, what did he say? And he told him, about the donkeys and such, but he said nothing about being anointed, that he would be anointed king. And then Samuel gathers the people together, and he calls forth the different tribes, and he says, the Lord has chosen a king. And he comes down to the tribe of Benjamin, and he goes on down to the household and says, household of Kish, where is he? And they said, he's hiding among the baggage. And so they bring him out, and Samuel says, look at the one the Lord has chosen. He is head taller than everybody else. And everybody's, ooh, ah, like that. And so then Samuel anoints him as king of Israel. So things begin well with Saul. Okay, it begins well, and he has a lot going for him. Number one, ability. That would be characterized or symbolized by the fact that he was a head taller than all the others. Okay, when you're in elementary school, I don't know, y'all. I got called out one time. Does anybody know what mocher ball is?
What?
Am I the only person that knows what moker ball is? I guess we just played it in Atlanta or something. I don't know. Moker ball was a game that you played in elementary school. Do you remember those big red balls? Okay, that you use in kickball in elementary school? Well, we would play moker ball, which you'd use one of those kickballs and you'd hit it with a bat. So you had a bat and you were hitting it, and you just played it just like baseball, but with one of those balls. I used that in Scrabble one time. What was it? Categories, and I got called out. I said, "What is this moker ball?" So, but anyway, I say that to say, when you're in elementary school, you're playing kickball or moker ball, you're choosing up teams, and you're always going. Unfortunately, you have some people that always get chosen last. Well, the best athletes were always chosen first. I want so and so on my team. Okay. Well, Saul would have been the first one chosen. Okay. He's head and shoulders above everybody else. You're picking teams. I want Saul. He's on my team. So he had that going for him. He had natural ability. He was a head taller than all the rest. Second, he was chosen by God. Let's look at that in 1 Samuel 9:14 through 16. So we've told the story, but now we're going to look at some specific verses here and pull them out to make some points here. So 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 14 through 16. I need some new glasses here. Okay, they went up to the town, and as they were entering it, there was Samuel coming toward them on his way up to the high place. Now the day before Saul came, the Lord had revealed this to Samuel. About this time tomorrow I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin. Anoint him leader over my people Israel. He will deliver my people from the hand of the Philistines. I have looked upon my people, for their cry has reached me. Okay, so he's been chosen by God. What more can you have in your corner than you've been chosen by God? Okay, so he has that going for him. And also the timing, that last part of verse 16, where it says, let's see here, I have looked upon my people, for their cry has reached me. It is time now that the Lord is going to bring deliverance to the people of Israel from the Philistines. And Saul is the chosen vessel to do that. So he's been chosen, and it's time. Okay, he's got those two things going for him. Then I'm putting like 2 question marks, maybe 3 question marks next to this next one here. It may be what it seems to be, or it may not. And I'm going to clarify that. It seems, at least on the surface, that he might have some humility going for him. Because he does say, he says, am I not a Benjamite? This is in verse 21. Am I not a Benjamite from the smallest tribe of Israel, and is not my clan the least of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? Why do you say such a thing to me? And then later on, when he hides among the baggage, it seems on the surface that he has some humility. Maybe not. Because if you see the rest of his life and the way he is, doesn't seem to be much humility going on down there. So this may be what I would call false humility. Also,